Here's your wrestling news for August 17th, 2021. And your headlines for today include: did Goldberg and Bobby Lashley deliver perhaps one of the weakest segments on the final Raw before SummerSlam? Is Sasha Banks and Bianca Belair's SummerSlam match in jeopardy? Reason for their absence during live events is revealed. WWE course corrects the Karrion Kross storyline at last. What happened with Keith Lee and New Day after WWE Raw went off the air? AEW drops Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt references during Being the Elite. Is WWE losing faith in Raw Women's Champion Nikki A.S.H? AEW wrestler auctioning off gear while hinting at departure from company. Rosemary photo shoot worn t-shirt going for insane amount of money at auction. Ember drops a hint on her WWE NXT hiatus. Impact Wrestling retires TNA title at television taping. Royal Rumble 2022 to be moved, Survivor Series 2021 location, and more. We are kicking off today with Raw, which saw Bobby Lashley and Goldberg come face-to-face ahead of their WWE title match at SummerSlam. Returning to Raw, Goldberg once more got a thunderous reaction from the crowd, and though we're sure there's plenty of Goldberg fans, he still has many detractors, and we wouldn't be surprised if WWE sweetened the audio, pumping in some chants of their own. The segment between the two only lasted a few minutes, but it ended with Lashley taking a noticeably weak spear from the Hall of Famer. At 54 years old, Goldberg can't spear like he once did, and it makes sense that both he and WWE would want to avoid an injury, especially so close to the biggest party of the summer. Unfortunately, that did mean that this big final face-off felt underwhelming, and it did little to convince fans that Goldberg could be leaving this Saturday as WWE Champion. WWE tradition dictates that whomever stands tall on the go-home show before a championship match always loses, and Goldberg himself has said he only has 2 matches on his contract per year, with this Saturday's match being the second of this year. With that in mind, SummerSlam 2021 will probably be the last we see of Goldberg this year, making a title change highly unlikely, especially as WWE needs the title to sell high-profile matches to the returning audiences. SummerSlam 2021 will almost certainly be a bad night for Goldberg, but a great night for Lashley, whose 5-month reign as WWE Champion is expected to continue. This Saturday's show should also see SmackDown Women's Champion Bianca Belair face Sasha Banks in a WrestleMania rematch, but that match is in serious jeopardy. Over the weekend, both women were pulled from 2 live events, one in Charlotte, North Carolina and the other in Columbus, South Carolina, due to what's being called unforeseen circumstances. Now, their SummerSlam match may not be happening this Saturday, according to PW Insider, who report, PWInsider.com has spoken with several sources inside the company who expressed concern their announced match will not take place at SummerSlam this weekend, but there is nothing confirmed in that regard. When Ringside News asked around about the situation, they were told that nothing is being shared internally, and that WWE are keeping a tight lid on information to avoid any potential leaks. Banks and Belair were both on last Friday's SmackDown, signing the contract to make the SummerSlam match official, but that was before they were pulled from live events. It's been rumored that both of them have tested positive, which would definitely cause this Saturday's match to be postponed, but we should stress that this is an unconfirmed rumor. As a rematch from the main event of Night 1 of WrestleMania 37, the collision this Saturday was highly anticipated, but fans may have to be waiting even longer to see this match. Now, when Karrion Kross debuted on Raw with an underwhelming loss to Jeff Hardy, fans were outraged, and since then, a genuine effort has been made to undo some of that bad booking. Going from strength to strength and moving up the ladder, Kross dominated Jeff last night in an impressive showing, even if it's unlikely he'll be in a title match soon, given that all of Raw's male champions are heels. This dynamic could change at SummerSlam, but even without a title, Kross has plenty of possible babyface opponents such as Ricochet or Drew McIntyre. A feud with McIntyre and one where Drew puts him over would make Kross's Raw career, but only if WWE could resist using their patented 50-50 booking. This booking is a huge problem on Raw and one of the reasons why such few superstars stand out these days, and it's the last thing Kross needs now that he's finally gaining momentum on Raw. This week's Raw was the Red Brand's go-home show for SummerSlam, but the action didn't end when the cameras stopped rolling. In the Dark main event, The New Day defeated The Miz and John Morrison in a match described as being filled with comedy spots. This was The Miz's second match of the night as he lost to Damian Priest during Raw, his first match back since WrestleMania Backlash, but the A-lister lost not once, but twice on his first night back. More from Raw as Keith Lee was once again in action, albeit during a dark match. Prior to the show going live in San Antonio's AT&T Center, Lee squashed a local enhancement talent in a match that only lasted a few minutes. Lee didn't wrestle during last night's Raw, but after most of 2021 away, it's good that he's back in the ring, even if they're dark matches. AEW news next, as the company is always on the hunt for new wrestlers to join the roster, and right now there's few free agents hotter than Daniel Bryan and Bray Wyatt. It's even been reported that Bryan has already signed a deal with AEW and will debut next month, and although nothing has been confirmed, AEW was ready to make some jokes about this situation this week. During the latest Being the Elite, the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega are shown browsing wrestling action figures and were greatly interested in the Daniel Bryan and The Fiend 2-pack by Mattel. Omega said he recognized The Fiend but didn't mention Bryan by name, instead hiding the battle pack behind one of his own figures. There's been no word on AEW trying to sign Bray, who's still under a 90-day non-compete clause with WWE, but it's expected that the company will make a move to sign the massively popular former Universal Champion when they can. Bray and Bryan haven't appeared for AEW yet, but that didn't stop Omega and the Bucks giving some very interesting teases during Being the Elite. More from Raw, and Nikki A.S.H's time as Raw Women's Champion has been mixed, as the handling of the popular superstar hasn't impressed. Just 1 week after becoming champion, she lost to Charlotte Flair and lost to Rhea Ripley last night, and if this is the rate she's going at, she could very well lose the title at SummerSlam. It doesn't help that the champ is in no way the center of this feud, as that honor goes to Flair, and this week's match with Ripley was a rematch from last week, which ended without a conclusive finish. That wasn't the case this week, as Ripley beat Nikki clean, and later in the show, the pair teamed together, losing to Flair and Nia Jax. Either WWE is building up a shock title retention for Nikki at SummerSlam, or her reign will come to a crashing end. And the big question is, how much faith does WWE have in the Scottish superhero? On the August 3rd AEW Dark, Max Caster caused a lot of controversy with his rap, which included attacks on Simone Biles' mental health, as well as referencing the Duke University lacrosse scandal. That rap was pulled from the episode of AEW Dark it was on, with Tony Khan promising to edit those shows from now on, and Caster hasn't been seen since. Caster hasn't been on TV, but he has been on eBay, as a listing was posted this week from a seller named Plat9022, who was selling Caster's acclaimed AEW gear signed by Max himself, with a description saying, "I don't think I'll be needing this stuff anymore." The listing also said that Caster is in need of some extra money this month, and said that the gear has been used in matches against the likes of Chris Jericho, the Young Bucks, MJF, Jon Moxley, and SCU. This listing certainly gave the impression that Caster's time with AEW is over, but it was later taken down by the seller without anyone hitting the $500 starting bid. On the eBay page, it says the listing is no longer available, but it didn't note if Caster sold his gear elsewhere or if he's keeping them himself. Whatever the case, Caster's spot in AEW is in great jeopardy, and the acclaimed star isn't expecting to be making money competing in the ring. Caster didn't get any offers on his ring gear before he took the listing down, but the same can't be said for Impact's Rosemary, who was the center of a bidding war this week. On eBay, a shirt worn by Rosemary in a photo shoot got the attention of collectors, and it was eventually sold for $1,200 after 78 bids were made on it. In a tweet, Rosemary herself confirmed that the auction was legitimate, and it was listed from Impact's home of Nashville, Tennessee. $1,000 is a lot to pay for a shirt, even one that's been autographed by Rosemary herself, and hopefully the recipient will find a special place for this one-of-a-kind shirt in their collection. Back to WWE, and recently Ember Moon was pulled from a match on NXT with Sarray after it was deemed that she wasn't medically cleared to compete on last week's NXT. After the announcement was made, the former NXT Women's Champion said she was upset and angry with the decision, and now we know more about her condition. On Twitter, Moon dispelled some of the rumors about why she's off TV and confirmed that she's not injured. Though this does answer some questions, it also raises others, as fans have been wondering what reason there is for Moon to not be medically cleared but not injured. Moon hasn't competed since July 6th, and fans are getting restless about her hiatus from TV, and only time will tell whether she's able to get back in the ring soon. Over to Impact now, as Christian Cage's win over Kenny Omega on Rampage meant the belt collector lost 2 titles, both the Impact and TNA World titles. Christian walked away with 2 belts, but now he only has 1, as during the most recent Impact TV tapings, Cage retired the TNA title. Handing the gold to Dave Penzer, the TNA title is now defunct, just over a year after it was reinstated by Moose. Unified with the Impact World Championship in April 2020, the champ has held both physical titles ever since, but Christian Cage has put a stop to that at the most recent Impact tapings. For over a year, WWE, like the rest of the world, has had to undergo major changes, and the ongoing global situation isn't over just yet. We've already reported that WWE are preparing for the possibility that they may have to limit touring once again, and the company aren't taking any chances with their roster. Ringside News reports that a 24/7 mask mandate is in effect backstage at WWE, and that goes for all superstars and staff, except for when they're eating and drinking, and nobody is exempt from donning a mask. Clearly, WWE doesn't want to risk a possible outbreak, especially with their current touring schedule already in jeopardy as cases continue to rise across the US. Clark County, Nevada, the home of SummerSlam's Allegiant Stadium, has a mask mandate in place too, meaning fans, like those backstage, will have to wear a mask during this Saturday's pay-per-view. WWE only recently returned to touring in live crowds, but they may have to get rid of indoor audiences soon enough. But the company is fighting their hardest to stop that from happening. We're looking ahead to Survivor Series 2021, which is expected to be a huge night for WWE, and we now have an exact date and location for the show. It's been confirmed that Survivor Series will happen at Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York on Sunday, November 21st, a little later in the month than originally expected. Survivor Series has the potential to be a historic night, as WWE are hoping for an appearance by The Rock, marking the 25th anniversary of his WWE debut, and hope that this will start a program with Roman Reigns, leading to a match at WrestleMania 38. Of course, all plans are subject to change, especially with how unpredictable things are right now, but whatever happens, fans can expect a huge show in Brooklyn on November 21st. And we're ending today with more pay-per-view news, as the Royal Rumble is always one of the highlights of the wrestling calendar, but fans may have to wait longer to see the 2 titular 30 superstar matches. That's according to Fightful, who state that discussions are being held about the Rumble being in early February 2022, the first time the show would happen outside of January. As for the location, St. Louis, Missouri is the frontrunner to host the show, and this has apparently been the favorite for the past month. Some rumors about Seattle hosting the Rumble have been floating around, but the report couldn't confirm those rumors, and it added that no venue has been confirmed so far. We'll have to see what happens with the Royal Rumble, but for now, fans may have to wait just a little longer to see who punches their ticket on the road to WrestleMania. Well guys, that's our news for today. Please share your comments below. Also hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the bell icon to receive all notifications. And as always, thanks for watching.